Alright, we're doing something a little bit differently for this next fest, so I like to think I've gotten a little bit wiser in terms of covering these games. You're going to find the complete, unaltered, and full runs of each night of Next Fest on the secondary channel. There'll be a link to that down below, and these videos will be specifically my favorite games from each night. So, with that said, enjoy this video, and I will see you for the next one. And we're starting things off with Ship of Fools. This is a cooperative game, kind of like Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, but with kind of the aesthetic of a Don't Starve. The world has been plunged into darkness due to the mysterious lighthouse going out. It's going to be up to us and a few friends, hopefully, to sail the disgusting and corrupted seas in order to bring light back. So this is one of those games where everything is built on you controlling every single aspect of your ship. You can outfit it with different items, you'll find artifacts as you explore, and you'll have to run around and put ammo in your various turrets and operate them as need be. Now the footage you're seeing is being played with just one person, obviously, but the game will support multiplayer. And this is one of those games, much like Lovers, that I feel like it is very much multiplayer required. As you go through the levels, the amount of enemies that are thrown at you and the ferocity of them increases. And one person, even with an automated turret, really can't do much by themselves. There is persistence in the form of unlocking new parts and upgrades, and the game has, I think, a pretty decent variety of situations, especially again with the hands-on nature of it. I do wish that the button that you would use to lock onto a turret or stand there is also the same button to get you off of it. You have to kind of awkwardly move away from it, and that just feels a little weird at this time. But I would say if you do have friends available, then definitely check out Ship of Fools. For our next game, this is Dream Tactics. This is a strategy RPG with a lot of very interesting things under the hood. Dreamland is falling apart, apparently a lot of evil pillows are causing trouble, and we are going to have to fight them back one turn and map at a time. What I like about this game, one, the UI is really on point, giving you dynamic information about where you can move and do damage. There is a instant check for all the symbology and terminology you can need, and each character is a unique and individual unit. So how this works is that each character will draw up to 5 cards each round. These cards can be attached to their deck before each battle. Every character has unique aspects to what they can do and how they apply moves and stats and so on. For instance, our main character, she can make characters like dizzy or sleepy, which is a debuff. However, when they are suffering from that, they will take increased damage, and if you do it to an ally, you will give them more healing. Luna, our kind of bunny knight, she can gain carrots, which increase her critical chance, and she has several abilities that proc off of crits. She can also plant a carrot, as you can see right there, so any other character can pick it up and gain permanent crit chance for the remainder of the battle. You can also mix and match cards between characters, with there being a pool of points that will differentiate or will keep you from just doing everything. The game promotes that you'll eventually get a party of 4 characters, and as you play, you can also swap out or redraw cards per turn, with your ability to do that growing once for every turn that passes. There are gear you can find, characters will level up, there's map exploration, and this is just a really solid strategy RPG. If you're not a fan of games like Fire Emblem, Advance Wars, that kind of turn-based strategy, then I don't think Dream Tactics is going to be the best game for you. It is far snappier and quicker than some of the other examples that we've played, but this is still very much a strategy RPG. However, this game definitely turned out to be kind of like my surprise hit of the show so far. And if you are a fan looking for another game to check out, I highly recommend looking at Dream Tactics. And now for a very different game, we turn to the Creepy Syndrome. This is an anthology indie horror game where we are being framed, or the framing is that we're talking to a psychiatrist about what ails us. And this will take in the form of 4 very different horror scenarios, each one featuring a completely different scenario, aesthetics, gameplay, and so on. So from the demo, we could only play 2. The first one is this kind of, almost reminds you a little bit of Fate, but like that 1-bit style of graphics, as you explore mysterious countryside after a cult has been found being killed. And then the second game in the demo takes us to this kind of point-and-click adventure, where we are trying to push a mysterious red button, and, well, creepy stuff is going to happen. From playing the demo, the game definitely does a great job of giving very different styles in terms of its horror and its gameplay. Now, if you're looking for hardcore action or very reflex-driven gameplay, I don't think the Creepy Syndrome is going to work for you. But if you're a fan of horror and looking for very bite-sized, digestible, or creepy takes on horror, as you saw right there, then definitely check out the Creepy Syndrome. And I'm curious to see where it all lands in terms of the 4 different scenarios. Up next, this is the Multi-Medium. This is a puzzle platformer where we are trapped in a multi-universal exploration of every kind of art medium that one can imagine. In order to get back home, we need to leap from art style to art style, solving puzzles and jumping along the way. So the general play of this one, again, is pure puzzle platforming. Each area is loaded with multiple checkpoints, obstacles, and some hidden MacGuffins for you to find. You will need to run, jump, wall jump, and other kinds of platforming goodness in order to make it to the end of each level, where you will fight some kind of puzzle boss, which will then unlock the next world. In terms of the platforming, it is alright. The character is very responsive. Like, you'll tap the button, he will just jump super high up. And the puzzling itself, I would say it's on the okay side. From the level that we played, there's definitely a lot of box manipulating, pushing blocks, that kind of thing. Now, the level did feel a little bit on the longer side. In terms of difficulty, I would say this is on the moderate side, at least from what we played in the demo. If you've played any kind of puzzle platformer before, you should be well acquainted with the Multi-Medium. I would love to have seen, I think, a little bit more depth to the mechanics, or more things to do beyond just hitting levers and moving boxes. But I really did like the different changes in the art styles, and curious to see how many there are in the full game. So if you're a fan of puzzle platforming, then I would recommend checking out the Multi-Medium. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have a few more games for this episode. If you're interested in my thoughts on design, then check out my game design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with more coming soon. We now have Dewdrop Dynasty. This is a Metroidvania with the twist that instead of dealing with jump physics, we are going to be working with gun physics. We are apparently a bee who is trying to find their way home, armed only with a gun. And we're going to shoot our way through this land. The main element of this game is that you're going to use your gun, and specifically the velocity of your bullets, to propel you around the world. So you'll be able to shoot down and propel yourself up. You will unlock different kinds of guns, each with their own physics and ammo supply, which will allow you to do more within the world itself. You'll, of course, explore, find all kinds of platforming and MacGuffins, and fight plenty of bosses as well. In terms of the general platforming, it feels good to play. The use of your gun definitely gives it a different feel to it compared to some of the other Metroidvanias, where that kind of like attack jump boost is oftentimes like a secondary feature or a little hidden thing. Here it is required. And the game does a good job of showing that off in the demo when you get your charge shot, which basically lets you do a super jump. With that said, it's going to be, I think, interesting to see where this game goes. I'm not sure how many different abilities and powers you're going to get, and how this all relates to being able to buy and upgrade. But if you're like me and always looking for another Metroidvania to play, then definitely check out Dewdrop Dynasty. Now up is Wildfrost. This is a deck-building roguelike with some very adorable card art. We are trying to save the world from an endless winter, and we are going to do that by battling all manner of cute to disturbing-looking snow-related enemies. The general gameplay of this is that you have cards of different varieties. You have attack or equipment cards that are consumed. You have healing and status causing cards. You have teammate cards that you can put onto the field. When cards are on the field, they all have a counter. That's what you see at the bottom of the screen, or bottom of the card. When the counter hits 0, the card will perform a command, and every card has a different command associated with it. Maybe it will heal, maybe it will gain more attack, and so on and so forth. You can remove teammates or discard them to give them back their full health to then replay again. And moving and adjusting your party dynamics is a key aspect of Wildfrost. Whoever is in the front row is going to be your main target. If your leader card runs out of health, your run is over. And the challenge of this one is definitely about optimizing how quickly you can deal with enemy waves. The counter that you see in the far right there, every turn will count down. When it hits 0, the next enemy group will show up. And it is incredibly easy to get overwhelmed in this game. In terms of upgrade or additional aspects, there is a persistent aspect of unlocking new cards by completing objectives, which will improve your town. You'll gain new cards and followers as you play during a run, and you can also attach charms to a card which will affect or add a new property, such as give it more damage, let it heal on a hit, and so on and so on. I like this game, but it is definitely on the tricky side. This is a clear example of one of those games where you are winning until you are not. It seems all well and good and easy until everything just hits you in one turn and you die. And you're just left there scratching your head as to what happened. This is a deck building roguelike where you really need to figure out what is going to be the strategy of your deck early and get it optimized. You're not going to be getting as many cards in this one compared to, say, Slay the Spire or Monster Train, but I really enjoy this one. There's certainly a lot of potential for fans of deck building roguelikes looking for another one. And I would say if you are still a fan of the genre, and if you love this art style, definitely check out Wildfrost. Now we turn to Midnight Girl. This is a point-and-click adventure game with the style and aesthetic of kind of like the 60s era of like French comics. We play as a cat burglar who is trying to commit one last big score, and of course, lots and lots of puzzles are going to get in their way. The entire game is played side-scrolling style, as you will explore each area looking for items, clues, and anything that you need to solve the myriad of puzzles. From what we played of this one, the style is definitely on point. There is no voice acting. I don't know there will be any in the main game. But the puzzles, I would say, are on the moderate side. Like, this didn't seem to be too challenging, especially compared to some of the older adventure games that we've seen. But they should at least give you a little bit of trouble. My only complaint about the UI is, as you can see, interactables only show up when you are walking near them. And it's very easy to quickly scan a room, think that there's nothing there, and then walk out and miss an essential item or thing that you need. If you're not a fan of adventure games, I don't think Midnight Girl is going to be the best game for you. But if you are a fan looking for another one to check out, then this one definitely gets a recommendation from me. For the last game of our video, this is the Case of the Golden Idol. This is a murder mystery game where people are ending up dead related to a mysterious idol that has been found, and it's up to you to put on your best Columbo coat and figure out the who, what, when, where, how, and why of what is happening. Each scenario or case involves you investigating a murder. It's your job to figure out who died, how they died, and other incidentals related to the case. You're going to do this by looking at the environment, picking up keywords and clues that you can then mix and match in your scroll in order to figure out the details of the case. So there's definitely some elements of like Return of the Obra Dinn here, where you're going to need to look around and figure out, okay, who are they talking about? How can this be referenced to something else that will then lead me to a clue? You need to, I believe, solve at least 2 of the 3 panels in order to get a win, but you get all 3, then you get bonus points or, a high 5 from the game. While this sounds incredibly simple, it gets very tricky as the cases go on when you have multiple rooms, multiple people, names, details, factoids, weapons, and so on all swirling around, and you have to figure out what does this all mean. This is definitely a game for fans of critical thinking. If you've ever watched an episode of Columbo and think that you can certainly do Columbo's job, then this is definitely the game for you. I love the style and the aesthetic of this game, and the fact that it's definitely more focused on the murder mystery rather than just puzzle solving and point-and-click adventure gives it a different feel. I would say this is on the harder side for deduction and this kind of puzzle design. So if you aren't a fan of, heavy thinking games like this, then the Case of the Golden Idol may be too much for you. But if you're someone who loves to deduce and theorize about stuff like this, then definitely check out the Case of the Golden Idol. But with that said, we're going to wrap up this showcase here. You'll find links to all the games down below. Do that liking, subscribing, and commenting. If you'd like me to tackle your game for a future showcase, please get in touch. Be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where it's in the art and science of games.